Today we're going to be talking about probably one of the most badass fights in the entirety of the Monster Association arc. It's a truly unique fight that is unlike any other fight in the Monster Association arc just by the vibe that it gives you and the truly unique win condition that it has. On top of that, it features one of my most favorite characters of the entirety of the series, ZOMBIEMAN. So in today's video, I'll be going through this entire fight and letting you guys know exactly what I love so much about it. And this will be the first video of a series where I will be talking about what I believe are the best fights of the entire Monster Association arc. So you definitely want to be subscribed with notifications on so you know as soon as the next video in the series drops. But on top of that, if you just generally enjoy One Punch Man content, then you literally don't need to go anywhere else because I post videos multiple times a week talking about various One Punch Man theories, general discussions, and do chapter reviews almost immediately after the chapter comes out. So I'll have you covered. But enough housekeeping, let's get right into this incredible fight. So like I said, ZOMBIEMAN is one of my most favorite characters just by how unique he really is, where most of the heroes in the One Punch Man universe rely on strength or, your classic shonen power buffs to overcome their opponent and win a fight. Whereas with ZOMBIEMAN, it's truly always a battle of attrition with him where his opponent has to outlast him, and ZOMBIEMAN's main and only win condition is to wear down his opponent and outlast them. And I just think that's so cool because I've always been a fan of resilient characters who could just eat hits and keep getting up and keep going, and ZOMBIEMAN is literally the embodiment of it. So this fight kicks off with ZOMBIEMAN fresh off of defeating several monsters when he is then confronted by a large group of monsters who say that they want to let him through to the next room because they want him to defeat whoever is on the other side of it. It very much seems like they just want him to get rid of their problem. ZOMBIEMAN agrees because he says that he has nothing else to do anyways, and as soon as he walks through the door, he sees what appears to be a giant bat on the ceiling. Well, the so-called bat detaches himself from the ceiling and it turns out to be PUREBLOOD, the vampire. They then proceed to have a competition to see who can look the most badass without saying anything, when the monsters around them finally break the silence and egg them both on to fight because all the monsters around him seem to hate PUREBLOOD, and they kind of see it as a win-win because, either PUREBLOOD dies and they're happy about that, or ZOMBIEMAN dies and they just got rid of an S-class hero. PUREBLOOD then goes on to kind of ignore them because he claims that they are envious of him. And this is kind of a big theme with PUREBLOOD. He's this kind of, monster elitist where he believes that all other monsters are fake monsters and he is like the one true monster. The monsters around them then start talking amongst themselves, trying to figure out who's going to win this fight, and then deciding that either way it doesn't matter because they could just finish off the winner after they're weakened. PUREBLOOD then asks for ZOMBIEMAN's name because he apparently isn't up to date with the dealings of the mundane world, in his own words. ZOMBIEMAN apologizes for not introducing himself, and he then responds by saying, "I'm this kind of guy," as he pulls out both of his pistols and shoots at PUREBLOOD. But what he doesn't know is that PUREBLOOD also decided to do a preemptive attack by sneaking up behind ZOMBIEMAN and biting him right on the neck, attempting to suck his blood. PUREBLOOD then complains about how foul his blood tastes and notices that he can barely keep it down. This bite knocks ZOMBIEMAN to the floor, making the monsters around him believe that he was quickly defeated and killed. They obviously don't know our boy ZOMBIEMAN though because he quickly springs back up while still bleeding, which leads PUREBLOOD to think that he's using the last of his power to stand up and give one final effort before he dies, obviously not knowing ZOMBIEMAN's insane ability. Before finishing him off, PUREBLOOD goes on to talk about how he's the only true monster in the Monster Association because he's a direct descendant from a long line of vampires, which he then declares makes him far above any of the other monsters down there. But of course ZOMBIEMAN isn't paying any attention to this because he's one of those shoot first, ask questions later kind of guys, So he quickly reloads his pistols, aims them at PUREBLOOD, and tells him to go to hell before shooting this enormous blast. PUREBLOOD seems stunned by this at first, but surprisingly manages to catch the bullets with relative ease. He then shoots them back at him with his bare hands, dealing a massive amount of damage to ZOMBIEMAN's head and body. After literally seeing him get his brains blown out, PUREBLOOD justifiably assumes that the fight is finally over and calls for applause from the monster audience. He's wondering why he's not hearing any applause or any sound from them when he then notices that ZOMBIEMAN gets back up with a huge hole in his head. And as he's standing there, PUREBLOOD then realizes that he does remember hearing about an undying hero and comes to the realization that this is indeed ZOMBIEMAN. He then goes on to call ZOMBIEMAN a phony human, which then pisses ZOMBIEMAN off as he regenerates the hole in his head and his broken arms. ZOMBIEMAN then pulls out his next set of weapons, which are these long blades that connect from end to end. As he hits PUREBLOOD with a flurry of attacks, PUREBLOOD pulls out a blade of his own, which appears to be some kind of sharpened wing bat, comes out of his arm. ZOMBIEMAN attempts to go for a swipe at PUREBLOOD's head, but PUREBLOOD is too fast for him as he jumps right over it, and he then kicks ZOMBIEMAN in the head so hard that he literally makes it do a full 180 with his face facing his back. Seeing this, he lets his guard down for a brief moment, but this proves to be a major mistake because as ZOMBIEMAN's head is snapped behind his body, he still manages to pull out his pistols and land a huge blast at point blank range onto PUREBLOOD as he's in midair. This leaves a huge hole in his chest, which causes one of the monsters to start to mock him. This infuriates PUREBLOOD, so he grabs him by the face and just tears him in half and starts consuming the blood that splatters out of him. His body then starts turning into dozens of bats that fly around, tearing ZOMBIEMAN apart while also consuming the blood of several monsters around them. It's then revealed that PUREBLOOD also has a regenerative ability, stating that it only takes 3 monsters for him to fully regenerate. He then asks ZOMBIEMAN how he's doing over there, seemingly mocking him, but we then see that one of the bats that make up PUREBLOOD's body is stuck in ZOMBIEMAN, but as ZOMBIEMAN's body regenerates, it totally snuffs out one of the bats, and spoiler alert, it's kind of a foreshadow of what's to come. And ZOMBIEMAN, being the total Sigma male badass that he is, simply responds by saying, "Don't feel like exercising, but I guess it can't be helped." He then pulls out his axe and tells PUREBLOOD, "Yo vampire, get ready for a battle of attrition." And then 30 minutes later, we come to see PUREBLOOD totally splattered all over the floor and in a bunch of pieces with tons of his bats scattered around the ground, all dead. As he's near death, PUREBLOOD points out that he killed him over and over and over again, and he should have died a long time ago. To which ZOMBIEMAN responds with, "Yup, you'd already won 200 times before I can score my first victory against you." And really, this one victory is the only one that counts because PUREBLOOD stays dead. And seeing as how ZOMBIEMAN seemingly has no more business there, he starts limping towards the door and stumbles right in front of it. This leads the monsters around him to assume that he's totally gassed and this is their perfect opportunity to kill him. However, we then see that ZOMBIEMAN grabs the bar that's holding the door closed and bends it shut so it's literally impossible for them to escape. The monsters laugh at this, seeing as how their sheer numbers can easily overtake ZOMBIEMAN, which again is a huge mistake, assuming that you can outlast our boy ZOMBIEMAN, because shortly after this, he walks out of the room completely torn apart. Like, there's literally parts of his brain missing, his face is missing, parts of his limbs are bitten off, but we can assume that he comes out the winner here. He then points out that it's going to take a couple minutes for him to fully heal up, so he then decides to take a smoke break, but is then interrupted by these 2 giant monsters with chainsaws for arms. Off panel, he makes quick work of them and then decides that he's fully healed up and it's time to go on another rampage. And this is where our fight concludes. Again, there's so much I love about this fight, from its underworld or blade vibe that it gives off throughout the entire fight to how truly unique it is, because most of the fights that we see in One Punch Man is a battle of who can overpower the other with an insane power buff or overwhelming strength, whereas fights with ZOMBIEMAN are all about who can last the longest, who has the most iron will and can take the most damage. And it's no surprise that ZOMBIEMAN always comes out on top, seeing as how he has this amazing regenerative ability. I honestly think that ZOMBIEMAN could have his own standalone manga, because like I said, he has a completely different vibe to him than anybody else in the series and is a strong character on his own, both literally in terms of physical strength and power, and also in terms of, personality and likability, because he comes off as one of those cool, collected heroes that makes you kind of whisper to yourself, man, this guy's a badass, as you're reading his panels. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think about PUREBLOOD versus ZOMBIEMAN? Is it one of your favorite fights? If not, let me know in the comments which of the huge amount of Monster Association fights is one of your favorite. And who knows, I'll more than likely cover it along the way in this series. But if you guys can agree on one that you all enjoy in the comment section, I'll put that one front and center. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. And again, if you want to catch more of these Monster Association fight breakdowns, I will be continuing the series in the coming weeks. So you definitely want to be subscribed with notifications on so you don't miss out on that. But until next one, I'll see you guys later.